Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, February 24th meeting of the Kingston City Land Bank's public board meeting. My name is Mike. I serve as the meeting's moderator. We do ask that members of the public limit their comments to no more than 2 minutes per speaker. And with that, I turn it over to the Vice Chair, Mr. Aaron Chilwich.
Hello, everybody. Thank you all for being here tonight. And to start, we'll do a roll call. So I'm Aaron, the Vice Chair.
So, board member.
Barbara, board member.
Joanna, board member.
And on Zoom,
Rebecca, board member.
Sarah Delorto, board member.
thank you all. Now I want to entertain a motion to accept the prior meeting minutes as uploaded to YouTube and approve the current meeting agenda as posted on our website and in your board packets.
Motion to do all of that.
I second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you all. Announcements for tonight. So first, thank you, Mike and Kyle, for everything that you did, all the work you did to put together the Keystone drawing last month. I thank you, Nate, who stepped into the public face of that drawing. I watched it on YouTube because I got sick, but I think it went really well. It was really exciting to see. I think it's the best one we've done today, despite being the most complicated one from an eligibility perspective. Confusing even to us as we're putting it together, and I think through trial and error, Kyle and Mike, you guys really you're putting it together. You guys,
Thank you. A big kudos, thank you for that. And I did just want to also say, because you weren't in the room, you didn't observe all the other people that were helping. Sarah leaned over and held the camera. Ethel ran up and manned.
makes my heart warm.
Ethel manned the laptop.
I'm so glad you're sick. Yes, I didn't know I was sick.
Oh, really?
I had coughing.
Oh, my
I had the flu.
Oh, my God.
2 next week. I had to back up.
That's incredible. Isolated yourself by the computer.
I'm so glad I did because I didn't know I was sick.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We have lots to be thankful for tonight.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you all. It went great. And the awardees and alternates, I know, are working diligently with RUPCO, and we're signing contracts soon. I know that Kyle's gonna have further updates on that during the ADC update tonight. And then I just quickly wanted to say, taking a step back, I think it's maybe we do this too much as an organization. I don't know, because we're always having milestones, but we're a new organization relatively, even though we lose track of that. It's only been a few years that we've had lotteries. Our first lottery was in 2021, and then we had first lottery in 2020, late 2021. Mid 2022, we did a small one-home lottery. I wrote it down. Late 2023, we did a third lottery for 2 Legacy Cities homes. Early 2023. Later in 2023, we did a fourth lottery for the final pilot homes and the last 2 Legacy City homes. And this was our 5th lottery, our best to date. And with this lottery, we've actually moved double digits in terms of homes we've rehabbed. And so we are now at 13 homes, which is a wonderful achievement. And we will of course, have another lottery later this year, and a ribbon cutting event for the Keystone homes before the first ones are sold. So keep an eye out for that. The only other thing tonight is we have a board vacancy with Bartek leading the board at the end of the year, beginning of the year. We have room for one more board member. So please, if you know people who would like to be board members or might be interested, even if they don't know, what we do, please have them apply on our website. And it goes for anybody who watches this video on YouTube, any members of the public. You don't have to be, you no longer have to be a resident of Kingston. You can now just have to have, I think in the words of our bylaws, a demonstrable connection to the city of Kingston as determined by the existing board. So you can be a resident or show some other investment in the city. I think we discussed many options related to working in the city, having kids that go to schools here, which, well, that would involve me living here probably. But anyways, there's many ways just to have a demonstrable interest in the city. With that, we'll move to a public comment period, and I don't see any members of the public.
No.
And so I pass it back to Mike for the executive director.
Amazing. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I will go through my normal spiel, which is the pipeline, pre-development, potential funding opportunities, and other. The big change this month is that we moved pipeline, let's say what we said in the papers, about 12 units at the 46 grand, down from the pipeline section to pre-development. So that's the big major change. No changes with looking at vacant plot at 24 Belmont, which was offered to us in a resolution now 2 years ago. No changes with the potential for Article 19A or Article 11 properties, other than that we're continuing to talk about that disposition policy. So more to come on that in the coming months as that evolves, and no properties from the National Community Stabilization Trust this month either. In the pre-development sector, as I mentioned, or their bucket, as I mentioned, 46 grand is now ready to purchase, and there's a resolution that came through ADC that will be discussed at that committee's report. Third Avenue, we had said several months ago that the Mid-Hudson Momentum Fund would be decided upon early January, maybe it was June of last year, but it kept going, and we were most recently told in our most recent round of interviews, right around Christmas, that it was taking place in January or February. So we inquired about that. We were told that there is now no timeline to award. There are no updates. There's no framework to award. So that is my update to you on that. I don't mean to sound cynical or jaded, but that's the reality of what's going on with that funding source.
Yeah.
On the flip side, though, good news, we do have a definitive date for the board meeting for the HDFC award of our home funds, and that will be taking place in March. So we have that. That is in the books. Kyle's done an amazing job, and Owen for mapping out what we're doing or what we could do on the construction side, although we will have to revisit that given, changes that are going on with pricing and modular and things like that. And the home award and all of these submissions that go into that were a big lift, both at the state level and with us. So we are expecting to receive good news when we come back. I think it will take place before the board meeting next month, so that will be great. And that will, we are probably commencing some behind the scenes environmental processes as I speak, like the state is starting that process early, so we save a few months on that. So more to come on that. Similarly, that also falls under the potential new funding opportunities, so an award next month of that as well. We did hear today from Senator Gillibrand, or at least her staff member forwarded us the opportunity for 2025 congressionally directed funding opportunities. You may recall last year and the year before, we made the short list only to hear nothing and not be awarded. And this year it is still federal funding that we're talking about. So Kyle and I will look this week to see what it takes to maybe put in another package. We don't know how much to ask for. We don't know really the likelihood of that, but that was a new funding update. Jumping down to other, I did just want to say thank you to Barbara for your resolution documentation. They're great. Yeah, awesome. Thank you for that. And some other minor updates. I had said last month that we were reporting in our annual meeting to the council on February 3rd. That has been moved to March 3rd because on February 3rd, there was also a meeting about the pipe plan, as there is tonight across the hall. So we are going in front of the council on the 3rd for their caucus meeting. Nate and I will be there, possibly just me, but it's a pretty standard update, and it's good to get in front of the council as early as possible. Some exciting updates from the New York Land Bank Association in your board package. There's a final memo for real property tax law revisions in the budget. Those of you who are interested. Perhaps more interestingly are the New York Land Bank legislative priorities for the year. So if you can see what we're kind of pushing for or working as a group on, there is some interesting stuff in there, including a budget summary in the package for the state's budget. We are working as a group to try to get $25 million in land bank initiative funding put in this year's budget. Currently, it's not even in the budget, so it's a lot of behind the scenes. Our local assembly member and senator have pledged support. We're trying to work as a coalition around that, so maybe more to come on that, because usually these things get finalized around now. So those are my updates. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, of course.
And now, committee updates. So I think if you're okay on time, then we'll start with ADC, go from there as usual. So Owen, you want to start us off with construction updates for the Keystone project?
Sure. Um, Everybody can hear me all right?
Yeah.
So I'll pull up this tracker sheet in a second, but we're at the point where we're wrapping up these 4 houses that we started last June. So we had substantial completion dates that were at the end of January and middle of February. So all 4 of those houses are in their punch list phase at this point. 2 of them have certificates of occupancy. That's Stefan and Chapel. And the other 2 are very close. Basically, um, one's held up by zoning issue that's easy for us to correct, and the other one by some railings that are getting fabricated that are just a little bit delayed. But um, but basically, those are all wrapping up um, pretty smoothly. Um, Schedule wise, we're we've got 2 that hit their dates and 2 that are close, a little, still not wrapped up, but broadly on target. Budget wise, these 4 houses did very well budget wise. So we um, while we're making up for it with Granite Hasbrook, these 4 houses um, had their contingency like increase rather than decrease over the course of construction. This past month has been a lot of like demolition and framing at Hasbrook, and we're in kind of like the uncovering issues phase of the project. So right now it feels like a lot of back and forth and discussion of issues that have to be solved. I think in another 2 months, it's not going to feel that way anymore once we're kind of through that phase. But I brought to ADC's attention just that we go from basically like none of contingency expended. There's none like in contract really to where we're like making plans to commit about 50% of that project's contingency, solving mostly structural issues. Um, but schedule wise, these 2 houses are good. Both of these houses are with the same contractor. They're right next to each other. If probably most of you are familiar, but they're sandwiching. They're the bread sandwiching 46 Grand Street, which were not part of Keystone project, but that's something we're starting to make preparations for now, that property, and um, I'll just plow into that. But so we have 2 open RFPs right now, underground plumbing and demolition of that property, and we're making other preparations to be ready for the demolition when we're able to take possession of that property and do demolition. Um, yeah, which is for a variety of reasons gonna feel good. Right now we've got a lot of like water backing up from the ice and freezing. That's like part of why it's like backing up in the backyard is because we've got this building that's bumping right up against 52 Grand Street, and of course we're doing all these work on the properties next door, and currently have this kind of like not great looking building that's very close to them. So it'll feel good to get that property cleaned up this year. So I think those are the major things for me to highlight. Does anybody have questions about what's going on?
I'm just curious, uh, I understand because you've talked about it before, what the contingency that has been spent on Grand is for, and you just mentioned structural issues in Hasbrook. I'm curious, were those two ordered last because they were kind of in worse structural shape, or why, kind of, it just, more just commented upon, it's interesting that the two that we have a lot of contingency spent on are the last two that are paired together. Or is that
Yeah.
just circumstance?
No, they weren't ordered. They weren't ordered, because they were tricky. And in some ways, like Hasbrook feels like a pretty straightforward project to me. And so in some ways it's been a little bit um surprising to be dealing with some of the stuff with Hasbrook. Hasbrook is has an older post and beam structure that it's in good shape, and then it had these two back additions, and one of them we just had planned to just remove. It just came off, and it's not part of the footprint that we're leaving. The 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 older addition we're leaving in place, and that's going to be the kitchen, the bathroom, downstairs bathroom of that house. And that's where most of the problems are concentrated. It's just a mix of an addition that wasn't built as um, with like as high of a quality as the rest of the house, and then just many years of wear or water damage or other issues that we're correcting. Grand Street, I feel like Grand Street is one of our more um, like intense interventions to a house. So that with that house, we took a single family house and we're making it, a one-story house, and we're making it a two-story house. And so we're taking spaces that were previously attic spaces or um, spaces that had to just hold up a porch roof and making them into places where people are going to live. And that's where some of our kind of like um, the the big structural change order for that house that we've talked about a little bit before. That's where that comes from, is the assumptions that were made pre-demolition about what was there to kind of have this living space sit on top of didn't pan out to be there. So we had to make plans for.
Makes sense, thank you.
Yeah.
If there's no other questions for Owen, I'll pass it off to Kyle to talk about the financing updates. And then once you're done with that, Kyle, the disposition updates. Thank you, Owen.
Yeah.
It's good. Thanks, Owen. Cool. All right, so this is a requisition summary for February. It's representing our upcoming requisitions. So these are pending numbers. Plan on submitting those in the first week of March. Overall, 62% drawn down on funds. As Owen said, wrapping up on Chapel and Stefan. You'll see, for example, we've only 75% drawn down on all of our funds. For Chapel, that just represents some project savings on contingency where we over budgeted there, didn't draw all those funds down. And then also some ongoing soft costs with the project as we move towards closing. So yeah, all on track here, starting to wind down the LBI funding more, have larger ARPA requisitions, larger Novo requisitions as we move forward with the project. Still anticipate pretty significant LBI requisitions going forward as we start focusing more on the later houses in the program, Hasbrook and Grand. But happy to go into any more detail answer any questions anybody might have.
So 62% requisitioned.
Yep. Okay. If no further questions, just jump on to the Keystone disposition. So we are moving forward towards contracts. I'd say we're close on 3 of 4 properties. Kind of looking at the timeline here. Once contracts are signed, Repco is anticipating approximately 45 days to closing. Repco is working with some buyers on grants that we don't anticipate pushing back closing very far, if at all, potentially adding 15 days. So big picture, we're hoping to get these contracts executed as soon as possible. From then, 45 to 60 days to close from there. But yeah, moving forward, meeting with Repco in a couple weeks to check in and in constant contact with them. So
Do you have any sense of what potentially the earliest a family could be in a home is? Or because we don't know how long it'll take for the contract to complete?
I'd say we're looking to have the first contract executed in the next week or so. Mike, does that sound right to you?
Yep.
Yeah. And then from there, we don't anticipate additional grants with that one that would push it back. So maybe 45 days from there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Moving forward. That's great. Thank you, Kyle.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
This is a timing question. It just has a little to do about ribbon cuttings and
Oh,
You
Rebecca.
muted yourself, Rebecca?
I'm sorry, I'm unmuted now, right?
Okay.
Owen, when do you think the demolition will happen on Grand Street? How long do you think it'll take?
Well, I would, we haven't set the date yet for that, basically. We don't own the property. We're kind of trying to see how the RFP results shake out so that we can make a firmer plan about when we're taking possession of the property. But the RFP describes the demolition is happening this spring. I think we're hoping for we're working towards early spring rather than late spring. I don't know if that is.
Yeah, I'm
giving
just thinking about that constellation of 2 houses and property in terms of, kind of how they're moving on together. So mostly just a sense of what that corner in Kingston is going to look like and when it's going to look like a party and when it's going to look like not a mess anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, well, I will say that for sure the goal is that these houses have a substantial completion date, I believe at the end of July. So for sure, the plan is that that property looks cleaned up by then.
Great.
Is cleaned up by then. So.
I envisage a fabulous picnic. Anyway, thanks for the information. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you again, Owen and Kyle. Rebecca, and with that, the last part of ABC is, speaking of that intersection, we need to have a vote this evening to authorize the KCLB to acquire 46 Grand Street from the city of Kingston for the purchase price of $1. Did you include?
Did not include a resolution of any
Okay.
type. My thinking was that in typing up the resolutions,
Yeah.
that would be our record.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
typical.
no, I was wondering if you included, if there was, if you included the conditions.
There are no conditions.
Yeah.
There's no deed restriction.
There we go. Okay, perfect. It's been a long time to get to this point. We're very excited to move forward with demoing the property and the pre-development of the next project, which will be, moving to ground construction is a big deal. So, I will entertain a motion to authorize Kingston City Land Bank to acquire 46 Grand Street from the city of Kingston for $1.
Seconded.
Motion.
Hold on, motion second. Any discussion on this topic?
I think we've had a lot of
No,
discussions.
On that note, then, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have a unanimous resolution. Thank you. That's very exciting.
Back to years of seeing that building, you know, and they were. And there was just nothing that they could do.
So we're done with ABC. I'm gonna pass it off to the finance and treasurer report. So Rebecca.
Hi, not muted, so you can hear me, right? Yeah, great. Just for those of you who might, there's no members of the public, but someone who might see this later, I just want to reiterate the process of this report, which is that we spend some significant time as the Finance Committee going through all of the financial documents, many of which are included in the board package. So its brevity does not indicate a lack of scrutiny. And we're always incredibly impressed with how well what is a complicated management of funds in a, I'm desperately trying to think of a metaphor that includes trying to build something on a always moving situation. So it's impressive how well the money is managed by the team, and I just want to compliment them again. All activities related to the finances are moving as predicted and budgeted with ample attention to the detailed use of restricted funds, which require substantive attention to timing and use. A brief summary of January's activity includes collecting funds on 4 requisitions and issuing 2 new requisitions, which provide substantial predicted funds to move our current rehab projects into completion. 20 Stefan Street is complete, and retainage is scheduled to be paid out this month. 38 Chapel Street is complete. Only the punch list is retained. This is all sort of redundant. The M&T sweep account was transferred to an interest-bearing account, resulting in less but still substantive interest earned in January. This shift was, as we've discussed before, to align us with regulations that relate to our entity as a land bank. We renewed 3 insurance policies. These costs are prorated throughout the year on statements, so they appear as a larger expense at one point and gradually dwindle down. The chart of accounts has been reworked to align the budget format, and the 2024 audit is underway, which is exciting because it's going smoothly and in a timely fashion. So I would say that we should move to accept the financial summary and the reports. So that would be my request. Any questions for Stacy, probably? Okay. So would anybody like to move to accept the report, the treasurer's report?
Make a motion.
Second.
Oh, you're on mute again.
Oh my God, we're good, right? We're all good?
Okay, thank you, Rebecca.
Okay, thank you, and thank you always for your exceptional management. And Owen, I think you should bring pictures next board meeting that they can be part of the YouTube record, so.
All right, so finance and audit. Next is communications, community engagement, and fundraising. Barbara.
Awesome. Yes, we had our meeting. We discussed, you know, the timeline for when to start the marketing and like the outreach for the round of applications for the 2 homes that will be for sale, and we'll look to do that in the spring and summer as we, you know, talked about the schedule and the, site conditions for, that like corner. And we are reviewing the newsletter and social media posts that we previously sent out for the 52 grand campaign, but through the lens of some of the data points that we've gotten in the last, few weeks in terms of Kingston leading the nation and home price increases in the last year, and how we can use that information where we have data to really, bolster and speak like what our mission is and how we're more critical than ever, especially in this community. We've been looking at like the calendar of local events to have a larger presence, whether with, as we decide what those events are and where it's appropriate for us to participate, like if it's a fundraising effort, if it's, outreach for more applicants, kind of Q&A and helping with that sort of stuff. The Kingston St. Patrick's Day Parade is on Sunday, March 16th. That could be an opportunity for us to show up, turn out, like walk in the parade, show like, we're active in the community, but we don't know who, it's coming up soon and quick, so we don't know if anyone is available, from staff and board to even participate. If not this year, next year for sure.
Sure.
Is anyone available? And the one-man show.
I'll make you a great float.
Just wear the shirt.
Yeah.
It's cool.
And if it's not the March St. Patrick's Day
Yeah.
Parade, we think the August soapbox derby thing is a great opportunity, and we should all put our creative hats on. And lastly, we are hoping at the next board meeting to come back and present a revised RFP for social media.
Great. Let's not care about that.
Yes.
So we've never made a soapbox car, right? I mean, that organizations make them, restaurants and stuff make them, right? It's not just children, or who makes the cars? Does anyone know?
I think it's, whoever
Yeah,
wants
it's
to
families.
participate, yeah.
We just need a kid to ride in it, right?
Yeah.
No, you've ridden in one?
Brandon KCLB.
Well, I'm pretty sure we could make a kick-ass one, but I know we're a very serious organization. We're much too busy to build a soapbox car, but
That would be fun to do.
That's just insane.
Because people start like a year in advance.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's
Don't
not
be playing.
Tested engineering.
I believe
You don't think
that.
we
That
could
would
do
be a
this
fun
A thing to work on, if not for this year, for next year.
If it's not too late, let's do it.
So, design committee.
So that we have one every year, we just prove it. That's all we need to do.
We lose our focus on all about the soapbox.
Just like add cans of like little tails for every house that we. Every property that
That's gonna be a documentary.
We're losing them, Rebecca, we're losing them.
once again, I create havoc. Well, something to dream about someday. We'll have a lot of children around at some point, so we'll think about it.
Anything else?
That's it for the communications and fundraising.
Thank you. Governance?
I guess we didn't meet, and then I'm thinking about design. I don't think I was at that meeting,
I don't think you were.
so, Mike, would you like to?
Sure. As Owen and I were, and Owen is no longer here. Paul's not here, Nate's not here. It was a great meeting. It was amazing. I don't,
What meeting is this?
Design.
the design meeting.
Governance didn't meet, but design did meet.
Design did meet, it was a relatively brief meeting, but I think the update that I thought maybe Paul would talk about is that he walked 52 grand and 48 Hasbrook with Owen this past month. So maybe he had some thoughts about it, or I'm not really sure how that meeting went. Yeah.
We don't currently have people on those houses, like, or do we?
We do, it's actually,
Oh, it's pretty hot.
yep, it was moved to Paul, this year.
But all a lot of the substantive decisions when it finishes, those were made a while back.
They were.
Yeah, but.
Yeah.
I think yeah, and I think it's good for Paul to see how Owen works through this stuff. And the other thing will be around the home funds, the home development will be the next sort of like, I'm working with Owen and I are working to kind of set up the narrative for bringing to ADC, like what we're doing, what the scope is going to look like. We don't even know now if it's modular or on-site construction because the costs that we had, we're not so sure that those are real costs anymore. So after we get the board approval at HTFC in March, we bring this to ADC for like a primer. And then we talk about it at the board meeting. And then because design meets after the board meeting, we talk about it design. And we sort of track the process as the environmental review is going. So that's the next thing around design.
And I think too, like, it's the ongoing conversation of how to, especially with new development.
Yeah.
How do we keep this commitment to design and Kingston architecture with new development, you know?
Yeah.
And fighting this, having like these prefab situations, so that's gonna be a big question.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, but I would have said that.
Well, thank you both. That wraps up our design, all our committee business for today. Any, I guess, public comments to start? Any members of the public here? No. And so with that, any new business tonight? And this is, I think, the shortest board meeting we've had in the time I've been on the board.
It's your failure.
So I don't know how it's possible, but it's 7:08.
If you average it with the lotto last year,
Yeah.
it's kind of like great in that.
Exactly. Well, as I said to somebody, as I said earlier today on our finance committee call, what I might do now is just avoid calling for a vote to adjourn for a couple hours.
I'll lock the door.
But I'll have mercy. I think get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
So it's a motion second. All in favor?
Bye.
Thank you all.
I know.
Thank you.
Hey, everyone.
Good night. Bye. See ya.
I'm just curious about.
Let me just stop.
the orange.
Yeah.
Why I can't-
Keep recording the mic. Don't do that.
The meeting.
Yes, please do. Thank you.
Demolition.